as a child, our family holidayed at Scarborough, just north of Brisbane in Moreton Bay, and many days at low tide picking through the tide pools and finding all sorts of interesting things. I was always fascinated with the oysters, but also the other invertebrates. I first came to AIMS in 1994, that's just over 3 decades ago. But prior to that, I lived in Torres Strait, where I did mostly community-based marine science. And so that's where I got my cultural Indigenous upbringing, really. Working in Torres Strait, working with communities where you do not put your toe in the water without the right permission from the right authority. I came to AIMS to lead a part of a bioprospecting project where we would be going and collecting marine critters of all sorts with a view to uncovering novel therapeutics that might have a potential as new medicines.
When you talk about toxic chemicals produced by marine animals, it's easy to perceive these as a threat to humans and a threat to human health, especially when the animal might have an aggressive method of envenomation of its compounds. But we need to understand that these animals and plants have a role in nature, that they're performing an ecosystem function which our very existence might depend on. And to boot, we might actually find an application that is to our benefit from these compounds.
At the time, one of the main bottlenecks or impediments to progressing a therapeutic lead from a sponge or from any marine organism was the problem of large-scale supply for preclinical studies. And so we dabbled with the idea of sponge aquaculture as a means to produce large amounts of material for those preclinical studies. And we knew from the literature and from other examples overseas that aquaculture was only ever going to supply the project for a narrow window of time when you either prove that it's a goer or you prove that it's not. And if it is a goer, then someone's going to develop a synthetic method and they'll do some refinement of the chemistry using medicinal chemistry methods. So we thought, well, this could be a really great opportunity for a new industry in Australia, aquaculture for the production of fine chemicals. But because those opportunities were going to come and go, we also looked at a very rock-solid industry, which is the production of bath sponges. Because there's a huge global trade in bath sponges and they're primarily sourced from wild harvest and demand is greater than supply. We were going and collecting this material from their sea country and doing the research, but without any engagement. And so I actually wrote a proposal for an AIMS-wide Indigenous engagement strategy. I thought I was pretty culturally competent with my background, but I actually didn't know what I didn't know until I was actually working side by side with traditional owners. So what we're seeing is the emergence of relationships between scientists and traditional owners based on respect, mutual trust and mutual understanding. The senior knowledge holders, their knowledge is vast and it's based on tens of thousands of years of environmental observations. Really excited about the strategy refresh and the emergence of a new research theme at AIMS, First Nations innovation, and really exciting to think about where that's going to take us. Besides seeing more Indigenous scientists trained in what we would more consider the education pathway of a researcher, we also want to make sure that Indigenous scientists feel comfortable in a Western science world without having to leave their culture and their traditional knowledge behind. So we want to bring the two knowledge systems together because we can learn so much from traditional knowledge and senior knowledge holders.